All right, we're going to dive into today's topic of incumbent research, is what I call it. We'll talk more about that. But if you're familiar with the terms, capture is what we're going to be talking about today. And capture is the second of three stages of federal sales, at least the way I describe federal sales. I've been doing this a long time, and I just kind of shape things the easiest way for me to communicate to other people. So federal sales has business development, which you can learn about later, but fundamentally it's about being in the agency, learning about opportunities and building relationships. This second phase, if you will, is capture. This is about taking one opportunity and really trying to make it your own. And that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. And then last stage is a proposal. You're writing a winning proposal or a response to the government saying, hey, let us convince you about our compelling approach to your need. So that's what capture is, and that's where incumbent research fits in. You may have heard of competitive research or black hat reviews if you're just too deep in the mix. Those are a waste of time. And this is an opinion, right? I haven't been able to find it anywhere where it's called a fact, but guaranteed, 100% guaranteed, it's a waste of time in my opinion, because competitive research or black hat review, which is looking at that competitive data, the reason that's a waste of time, most importantly for small businesses, is we just don't have the resources to do it. And even if we were a little larger and we had some of the resources or we could pay somebody to do it, you never really know who's going to show up. Nowadays, people are able to grab an RFP and respond to it with AI tools or something. And a lot of the people you never knew would have shown up are showing up. And so that competitive research just didn't help you at all. It's very helpful when you're building an airplane, right? Maybe you want to know who your competitors are. But when you're going after a $5 million IT contract, pretty much your competitors are like 1,000 of them. But what I like is incumbent research, incumbent capture. These are vital. These are about that competitor who is the incumbent. They are the winner on the very contract you want to go after. And that's why we want to double down on that. And I'm not here to have a debate with anybody about competitive research. Anybody who thinks competitive research is a good idea doesn't understand what it's like to be a small business where it's generally the owner or 1 to 3 people who are doing all of the sales stuff while they're also running a business. And so you want to focus your energy down. I would love it if you could sit there and know exactly who your competitors are, but you absolutely can know who the winner is, that incumbent. We want to research these people. And that's what I'm going to talk to you today. I'm going to share how I do the research on the incumbents out there. And that's what I want to make sure you're learning coming out of today's training, a step-by-step incumbent research from my perspective, right? This is how I do it. And a lot of us might do it slightly different. And so hopefully you'll pull out some really good tips. I want to break down today's training into 3 sections. I'm going to move at a fire hose pace until I run out of steam. But I'm going to cover the what and the why of what is incumbent research. So I want to just level set. I like level setting on terms. In fact, this is a perfect time for me to just throw out one of the quotes I like saying. There's this great quote. Oh, and my mind is not working on who did it. F. Scott Fitzgerald or somebody. But the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. The biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. And this is why I like to talk about the what and the why. It's like, before I talk about the how, let's just make sure we're kind of on the same page of what is incumbent research. And that's what we'll talk about there. The second thing is I just want to give you the tools of the trade of how I research incumbents and their employees. That's very important. And then however much time I have available, I'm going to go in and show you literally doing it. And then the last thing I want to end with is just talking to you about meetings you should have. So it's one thing to research your incumbent on the internet, let's say, and it's another to research your incumbent through discussions with other people, including your incumbent or that competitor who is the incumbent. So that's what we're going to talk about at the end. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I'm the co-founder of GovCon in a Box, a platform I would love for you to visit, and I'll talk to you more about that in a second. But I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I want for you, and that's why we do this training day after day. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, subscribe to Government Contracting Success Newsletter. It's where we share great content out about government contracting, the sales side of it, and understanding the agency. So we try to keep it pretty focused. We leave the legal commentary and understanding and training to Steve Coprince and other great lawyers out there. So we focus on the sales side. So make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. The last thing on this page is tomorrow's training, and I've got the energy. I'm excited to come back. But inside of Capture, one of the things you want to do is learn your customers' pain points, the challenges they're facing, pretty much what's driving the requirement that they have. And so tomorrow, I'm going to share some tips on how I learn a customer's pain points. Similar to the process I'm teaching today, I'm going to teach that same thing tomorrow on pain points. If you can understand your customer's pain points, you drastically increase your ability to win contracts that you go after. I wanted to welcome Fomov Consulting down here, Vadim Fomov. He's great. I talk to him all the time, and but he just hit the 100 Club, and the 100 Club is on GovCon in a box. And so what this means is out of a score of 100, 0 to 100, we give you a score, FIS, a Federal Visibility Score. And this FIS score is designed to tell you how visible are you to the federal buyers on their tools, not inside of some special directory I have. And so our platform just gives you the way to look at all the government's tools and go, oh, I'm invisible to the buyer. Most companies are invisible to the buyer, and most companies within a week or less, sometimes within a day, can really increase your visibility score so that you're at 100 and you're maximizing your chances of being visible. I wanted to do a special shout out to Hillary from Sea Hill Consulting Group. I did this post the other day and I said, hey, if you want me to share your capability statement with my network, then just post it on LinkedIn, do a little write-up, and then tag me and say, hey, thanks, Neil, for sharing this with the network or something. And so a lot of people took advantage of that, and it was super exciting for me to engage in the comments and push it out further. And I could tell it worked because a lot of people would engage their capability statement. But one of the people who just stood head and shoulders, and a lot of people engaged, and I really appreciate it, but Hillary's name just kept coming up as often as mine, out there supporting these people who were sharing their capability statement. And she was engaging it as a supportive peer in the government contracting space, but also pushing it to her network. That's networking, right? There was nothing there. She was giving without expectation. She and I haven't even talked. I just saw it, and I really want to say thank you in front of everybody. So check out Sea Hill Consulting Group, all of you, and make sure you give her a little shout out saying thanks for being supportive of the community. Okay, let's talk about the what and the why. So I'm going to keep this slide pretty minimal so I can get to the how a lot more. But basically, incumbent research is trying to learn everything you can about the incumbent. You want to learn, inside that one opportunity that you're trying to go after, you have an incumbent, right? So an incumbent, just to make sure we're all on the same page, is the prime contractor who won the contract from the government the last time. Now you're going after it. It's coming out as a recompete. And so you have an incumbent, somebody who is the winner. We want to go to learn everything we can about them. When they went after it, how many other people were there winning it with them? What was the total price award? We can't see the breakdown of the labor categories, right, or the hourly cost, but we can see how much did they win. What was the total contract value? So we want to research that kind of activity. We want to understand where they're at. Are they in Georgia? Are they in California or Washington, D.C.? So the incumbent, we want to look at them that way. We also want to look at them more broadly. Where else are they winning within this agency? Where else are they winning within the federal government? That is understanding the incumbent out there. And so I'll show you some tips on how you can look at that really quick. But that's what you want to do. You want to understand your competitor. That might take you a few hours at most. And again, I like saying this. If you're going after a multi-million-dollar contract, then you want to be investing hours, tens of hours of research time and study time and going and having meeting time. So, take a few hours and understand that incumbent really well. The next thing is incumbent capture. There's a couple of different ways you can look at this, and there's a lot of people out there who will talk about it, but I just want to give you a very basic way of looking at incumbent capture. First one is you might say to yourself, well, if that incumbent cannot compete the next time, how can I capture them to get on their team? Maybe get them to be a sub to me. That's one thing, right? Excuse me. I have a customer who went after a $175 million contract, and that's exactly how they did it. They went after the prime who had it before, and they couldn't compete, and they got them on the team. And by doing so, they actually pulled on multiple other subcontractors before they decided to prime. And so incumbent capture isn't a bad thing. I want to capture their attention the same way, something is capturing my eye, like a car manufacturer wants the design to capture my eye. And so capture is that way. Another incumbent capture way of looking at it is their employees, right? How can I sit there and get their employees to come work for me? Or if I win that contract, commit to come working for me. And the last way you might think about incumbent capture is I want to capture that incumbent's work, right? So I want to capture them to get on my team. I want to capture their people to get on my company. And I want to capture that contract. So it was theirs, now it's mine, right? So there's nothing nefarious about it, and there's nothing magical about it, right? This is first stage level incumbent capture. The skill set is a very advanced skill set that you can get better and better at. But just if you stay at the basics, those are a really good description. The last thing that I want you to pay attention to, and this is kind of the why of doing incumbent capture, is sometimes you do incumbent capture in a way that you can compete against them. Say that they're going to go after this contract again. They're eligible to go after it. And so they're going to go after it. You know they're going to go after it as a prime contractor. Sometimes people get scared and they go away and they're like, I'm not going to go after it. The incumbent's going to win. And if you did your research, you might find out that that's not the case at all. But you might do the research and they seem strong. But who cares? I've literally seen incumbents lose their current contract, even though the government loves them, because they made a mistake, right? Other times I've beaten incumbents because we have just written a better proposal. We have better experience that the government looks and they go, wow, that's what we really want, right? And so ghosting the incumbent, sometimes what you can do is learn about the incumbent, especially you can learn about maybe their weaknesses, and you write about your strengths that counter those weaknesses. So if I learn people show up to work late all the time in the incumbent, for example, right? They're always tardy. Well, what we do is we sit there and say, something about our staffing approach or our dedication to promptness, right? We really believe in being prompt is 30 minutes early. So we're always 30 minutes early, and we always have work to do in the early 30 minutes. That way we never get caught off guard by security clearances or anything else. By saying that as a strength, we're implying to the other person, oh yeah, don't you remember how much you hate how tardy these guys are? That's a really loose example of ghosting the incumbent. You can do it also on whether you've got certifications and they don't, things like that. All right, so that's just a brief introduction to the what and the why around incumbent capture. Here are some places that you can do incumbent research on the company and their employees who have that contract you want. In no particular order, but USA Spending is the first place I like to go. Gives me a good summary. Down at the very bottom, I say FPDS. It's basically the same data. And so USA Spending, if you're not familiar with this, just has a better front end. It looks nicer, and I'll show you that. But FPDS, the Federal Procurement Data System, that has the raw data. That is the source of contract award data. That's where you can go to look for it. So those two work together. I just like looking at USA Spending. Then I kind of come out. I'm looking at their website. I'm going to go into their website, and I want to see what do they describe about their company and the services they offer. What contract vehicles do they describe on their website? Maybe they've got people who are writing blogs in there, and I can go in and go, oh, look at there. There's John Smith. He's writing a blog about AWS architecture, and we're going after an opportunity that's AWS architecture. So I can be looking at these people and seeing what they're saying and what's going on. I can look in their press and news section if they've got that, right? Depending on how big you are, you begin to have these sections, right? Not everybody has to have it, but if they've got it, I might see what they're proud of, where they shout out on the news, hey, we won this contract. We're really excited. And sometimes they drop things like, this project's going to be led by Sally Sawhorse. I was trying to say Sally Smith, but that didn't really, Sally Smith. Anyways, you know what I'm saying, Jane Doe. It's being led by Jane Doe. She's going to be our program manager on this contract. It's like, bam, now I got a name. I got a person's name who might be on it. Doesn't always happen, but you can check it out. You can figure it out. Also, last thing on there is sometimes people have contract vehicles, bigger contract vehicles that are there, and they have points of contact. And so keep that in mind. It's a great way to find somebody else's name. And then LinkedIn. Hopefully you know this already, since most of you are here on LinkedIn with me. Some of you from Twitter and YouTube, but LinkedIn is a great place. And so you can go to the company page and learn about what they're talking about. You can look at their job postings on LinkedIn to see how they describe the company, maybe even looking for job postings that are related to the very contract you're trying to go after, right? You can look at that and begin to try to figure it out. And then profiles. You can look at the company people profiles. So, I might start with the company website and find out who the leaders are and chase that down. Or if I go to the LinkedIn company page, I can trace people in there as well. And then Sam's another great place that's out there. Okay, hold on one split second. Okay. Let me come back really quick and show you how I do this. So we should be good to go. And let's go to, let's just go to USA spending for 1 second. And actually, I could have had something up, but I don't. I'll just write that off to COVID. But let's go in here really quick and say I'm looking for a contract that's SharePoint, right? And I don't know if you've seen this before, but I'm going to say I'm looking for contracts that are related to SharePoint, and they were awarded, let's say, in 2021. 2021, how about 2020? It doesn't really matter which I choose. And then contract award is, what I want is contracts there, but I want to say show new awards only. And the reason I'm saying this is I don't want the option years. So now potentially what I'm grabbing are just contracts related to SharePoint in the description that were awarded in 2020, and they were new awards. So let's go ahead and see what we get from that search. Hopefully I get something I can use to show you and find a competitor. And by the way, this data is all public, so I don't mind digging into a competitor and saying, there they are. It's like, I'm not here to be cagey in what's going on. All right, come on, keep coming up. You got to love these results that just take forever. Hey, while that's loading, I'll come back to that. Let me just go back to this. Okay, there you go. So I've got some of these, and you see how it's. I don't know if you can see, but it's sorted by obligation amount, and that's good. But I'm going to reverse it. So let's say I'm a small business, and I'm going after something smaller. Which one is it? That's funny. No matter what I do, the sorting is still there. So let me change this really quick. Hold on. So the award amount, I want the award amount to be 1 to 25 million. So now I get rid of those $100 million ones that I don't care about. I mean, I just could never win, right? If I'm a much smaller firm. So if I come down here, let me take this guy here, NTT Data Health, and I don't know who they are. Oh, actually, I'm going to scroll over for 1 second. This is what I'm looking for. See that? SharePoint Professional Services, EPA SharePoint Portal Services. So these are all good. Those are what I'm looking for. So let me come over for a second. And let's take GDIT, right? Oops, let me go back for 1 second. Actually, I want to take just this data federal health as an example. So if I come in here and I'm doing some beginning incumbent research on this, right? I'm looking to see is the contract in the space I can fit before I start doing this. And yes, the potential award is 5 million. That's perfect, right? And the reason I picked in the out year, where's the, I don't know, the end date must be down below. But if I come here, I can look at the description. It's all SharePoint services, custom app. That is exactly what I would want. And you thank you, Red, if you're out there watching. But if I come in here and I begin to look at some of this information, right, I can find out who the agency is that's doing this. And this is HRSA at the headquarter level, it looks like. For HHS, it's one of their subordinate agencies. I'm like, okay, this is good. It's not in DOD, so I can go after it even though I don't have a clearance. And so I can start coming through, right? Executive compensation generally is not here for a small business, but in this case, it is. So take a look at that. Those are 5 people's names I can look at, and I can see what they're doing. I can come in and look at this contract and go, oh, it's a HRSA BPA, which is interesting. So I would want to go chase it down. This is a $4 million or $5 million contract on a BPA. A blanket purchase agreement is basically a type of contract vehicle. Usually see it tied to GSA sometimes. But what I want to do is come down here and look at the research, right? I don't see anything. And when I don't see anything, sometimes I think that they didn't really fill it out. But I can see, right? Remember, if I'm teaching you all the time about improving your visibility score, these are ways you can come in and see that 541519, that's not software development, even though this is literally a development project. But I can look at the incumbent, right? And I'm like, okay, let me see who these guys are. So they're a small business, Indian owned, but that's subcontinent. So that's not Native American Indian. But so all this looks pretty normal as a small business. So I'm going to scale out. And I see them, right? But now I want to dig further into them, and I'm going to click on this, and this is a good sign for me. I instantly see, I don't know if you can tell, but in the top, sorry, hold on one second. In the top here, it says, this is just trailing 12 months. In the last 12 months, they made $42 million. Oh, wait a minute. This is interesting. So here, the business type is foreign owned and other than small business. So I need to research this and go back one second. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm looking. What I want is their UEI. Let me come down. So that's not the contract, but right here, this is interesting. So I'm going to go look at them. The reason I'm saying this is interesting is when I'm here, it's telling me these guys are a small business. But I'm going to pop over. And by the way, I'm doing incumbent research as we go along. I'm looking at these guys. One of my tips is to go after contracts where people aren't eligible anymore. So I'm going to put their UEI in here like that, and I hit enter. They're not in the SBA's directory. So these guys are not eligible to go after this anymore. So that's a piece of good news for me. I can go talk to the contracting officer and say, hey, I noticed that these people are in there. Let me do one more. So right here, you see it's Federal Data Health Inc. I'm going to go look at them, and I'm going to go look at down below. I can see what these guys have won, and I can see they were doing 96 million, 100 million. This is not a small business at all. But that SharePoint work, why can't I win that SharePoint work? So let me go look at what this incumbent has won, right? And so I'm going to view awards that this company has gotten. Come on, come fast for me. So I'm going to come back to that in 1 second. While it's doing it, let me talk my last slide so I make sure I got my time. I want to come back and show you that thing. But first, here's some meetings you can have. One thing is look on the web, right? And do what I just did. I'm starting to understand about the incumbent. I'm like, hey, just in that few minutes, I learned that they're not even eligible. So that's a good thing. So I can go in and talk with the incumbent staff. So if I'm trying to hire those people, one of my favorite ways, and I've done this before many, many years in a row, going after SharePoint work. That's why I went after that example. That was my previous company. But I can attract with webinars. I used to do webinars where I get these people who are most valuable professionals, I think it is, but it's Microsoft's highest certification, and they were experts in SharePoint. I would have them come in and teach the latest and greatest thing as a way to attract SharePoint engineers and developers who would then become aware of us, right? That was our talent acquisition approach. We didn't go to Indeed for just developers. We would go out here and do this. And so anyway, so attract people with a webinar. I can talk to the KO or the contracting officer representative, the core. These are two people I can go in and say, hey, I was looking at the contract. I really want to go after it. It was full and opener. It went to large, but we can compete. And there's multiple SharePoint companies. We can bring them to you if you do a source of sought. You can talk to the program office. One of the tips I have here is you want to get in and talk to the program office. Basically, you're trying to find out, do you like this incumbent? Did they do a good job? And one of the ways, you can't ask that directly, right? So I say ask leading questions. You might ask a question like, hey, what do you wish was in the contract that wasn't? Or what were you not able to get to in the contract that you wish you did? For example, sometimes you've got these major sets of requirements and deliverables you're trying to get done. Were any of them tougher to execute on than others? When you look back and you get ready to go forward, you're asking them about the language in the contract, but the conversation is going to give you really good insight about the incumbent. Oh, the incumbent was awesome. They did, we kept switching priorities. And so we couldn't get to that requirement compared to, we would have thought we had gotten to more. So we're going to try to put it in the next one, right? That's something that's telling me, okay, these guys didn't like it. I never, ever, ever want somebody to answer a question. I probably should not be telling you this. Stop them. Immediately stop them. It's bad for your heart. It's bad for their heart, right? It's unethical to answer a question. I probably shouldn't tell you this. And then begin to tell me it. If it shouldn't tell me, don't tell me. I want other stuff that you can tell me, and we'll stick with that. The last thing is incumbent competitors in an agency. We used to do this where there was one incumbent who had what we wanted, and we would find other contract winners that were in a related work, but not that work. And we would just build relationships, have coffee if we could, and begin to just casually ask them about what they thought. These people, we would ask more direct questions. Hey, are those guys liked or not liked? Right? You don't ask the government that, but it's totally okay to ask their competitors out there. Okay, so this thing came up, and I was trying to see in here just what they've got and where they're at. Look at these wins that they have. They're all huge. And when I come over, if I move this over, like they got business technology, this kind of company, I'm going to try to find all of the work they're going after and where they're winning it. And I want to see, have they won stuff in small? The thing I was really looking for is contract vehicles. So if I look at the contract vehicles they have, and I sort them, if I come back, come on. Every time I want to do something fast, it takes a little while. Come on, USA spending, don't make me drag. Okay, I had to click that 3 times to get the sort, and look at the sort. Okay, so 2029, 2027, but a lot of things expiring in 2012 or 2024. Those are worth me tracking. They're kind of already expired, but I can look at an incumbent. This is just one incumbent, but I can look at those and begin to understand where else are they weren't winning, what other type of work. This is a company I would try to get on my team, right? I'm not trying to be bad. I'm just trying to compete with them. And so I would want to get them on my team saying, hey, we're going after this. If it goes small, do you want to be on our team? If it's full and open, I know you're going to compete on your own. But if it goes small, then I want you to compete. So, okay, here's what I want you to remember from today's training. Just start off by going to USA Spending. If you're looking for incumbent research and you know what opportunity you're going after, then just research the incumbent who's in there. You can find the incumbent in SAM and FPDS, et cetera. But find them on USA Spending, and that's where you start doing your research. Then go over to their website like I described. I didn't have time for LinkedIn, but you can watch other training I've done where I say, here's exactly how you go through LinkedIn to find the company and then the people. I teach it on how to find teammates as well as how to find government personnel, agency buyers. Hey, as we move forward tomorrow or next week on Monday, again, I've got 5 days of SIBR, Small Business Innovation Research Dollars, and I know I'm butchering the name there, but join us. We've got over 200 people registered already for Monday, and I think almost 100 people for every other day afterwards. And so there's a lot of dollars available to small businesses for innovation. Come learn about whether it's a good fit for your company or not next week, and make sure you register for those. Let the government know you like it when they come to industry and when they're sharing information with you. As you go through your day, just remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next day.